Hello and welcome to this week's football show, discussing all the action of the Premier League. And well, there's only one place to start, isn't there? It's no more off the field than on the field. Delighted to say that Paul Robinson has joined us to look ahead to this week. And Paul, obviously it's all about Chelsea Football Club. I was going to show you some of the back pages on the Friday morning here. We've got Sting in the Blues, the headline on the back of the Star, and also Chelsea with hell in red there. Roman Abramovic obviously been sanctioned by the government with the Russian war on Ukraine. Good result on the field last night, of course. They're still up there in third in the league. But real worrying times, especially for Chelsea fans, with the news.
Yeah, very much so. I think we've got to make it clear that we're talking about the sport and the football side of things. What's happening in the Ukraine, it's awful, it's terrible. We cannot link that to sport and football because, it's not even close. That's something else. We're talking about Chelsea because it's a football betting company and we talk about football bets. The sanctions that have been invoked on Chelsea, it's unprecedented times. It's something that we've never seen the like of before. We are getting new bits of news day by day, minute by minute. Yesterday there was breaking news every 10 minutes. Yeah. The club got sanctioned and then, the sponsors pulled away. They weren't allowed to sell tickets, they weren't allowed to sell kit. It's a completely alien time and it's one that we are learning minute by minute as to different sanctions. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think the sooner the football club's sold, the better. And I think there's going to be an opportunity to do that. So long as there's a vehicle where the money can go and the money goes to the right place. If somebody's in control of the money, Roman Abramovic doesn't get a penny, whether it's a euro, a ruble, a pound, whatever currency it is. There's a vehicle set up where the money can go for whoever buys the football club. And the sooner that football club's sold, the better for everybody. The better for Chelsea fans, the better for the owner, the better for everybody.
I mean, everyone's thinking of the doom and gloom and the worst possible scenario. Will Chelsea exist in a few days' time? But you've got to think of the other, not just the players, the staff, all those behind the scenes. They're going to be worried about their jobs as well. And hopefully there's a quick resolution to this and it all gets sorted out. But we're just in the unknown. It is alien concept, isn't it?
I think there will be a quick solution. I think there has to be. I think for everybody involved, I don't think anybody will want this dragging on any longer than it needs to do. And I think the football club will exist. I think there will be a turbulent time ahead. They've got a few in different weeks to come. The manager, I think, has fronted the situation well for somebody who's constantly asked day in and day out, and these press conferences, understandably, and he's having to deal with a situation that he didn't want, two, he doesn't want, and three, he's not party to. I think there will be a quick solution. I think the football club will be sold because there's a way and a means of doing that and doing it in the correct way. But I think until that point, players' contracts, obviously, you've got Aspilicueta, Christiansen, Rudiger, three players that are out of contract that can't get new contracts, players that they may want to bring in the summer that they're looking at that they can't do, and until this is resolved, then it is going to be an unsettling time. I think there's livelihoods at stake, people who work in and around the club, people who work in the merchandise side of things, the ticket office sales, and I think there's a way with the tickets. There's 22,000 season ticket holders, I think, at Chelsea, so gift the other tickets if you want the stadium full. You can gift tickets. The UEFA games, the Champions League games, sell them through UEFA, sell them through FIFA. There is other avenues of doing that. For the away games, the fans can buy tickets through, the Manchester United ticket office, the Leeds United ticket office, whoever they're playing. There'll be a way and a means of fans being able to get tickets just as long as the revenue's not coming back to Chelsea Football Club. And as you say, it's unprecedented and it's strange. And day by day it is going to change and we are going to get different news stories daily. And until the football club's sold, it will never be the same again.
No, certainly well. Well, fingers crossed for a fast resolution. I mean, the irony that they're playing Newcastle this week, who are just like the new Chelsea or a team that are just on the up. So we'll talk about that game in a bit more detail a little later. We're going to get stuck into the games now. With all the games that was on Thursday night, there isn't that many on Saturday, they're mainly on Sunday. We've got a few to get stuck into. Brighton take on Liverpool first up, 12:30, lunchtime at the Amex. I could say it's a little bit of a disappointing season for Brighton. They started well. Many thought they'd be up there, maybe on the periphery of the top six, but I think it's tailed off a little bit, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, especially the home form. Not winning at home this year. They have been particularly poor of recent times. I mean, you look at the two teams playing each of the Brighton and Liverpool. Liverpool unbeaten on the road for so long and Brighton haven't won at home. So it's a bit of a mismatch, if you like. And who'd have thought at this point in the season, when only 6-8 weeks ago we were sat here talking about Newcastle probably going to get relegated. Newcastle are now 2 points behind Brighton, who started the season well and had a decent start. You'd expect them to be higher. He's got a good squad of players, but like they fall into the same trap as last year. They play well, they dominate possession, they dominate games without having that cutting edge up front. They don't score enough goals. They do play particularly well and dominate possession in games, but they haven't got that quality in the final third, if you like. And I think this weekend against Liverpool, they struggle.
Yeah, not won at home yet, Brighton, this year. Liverpool 7 straight wins, 11-4 to win the Premier League, 6 points behind Man City. They've got to go to the Etihad, so still in the melting pot for Liverpool, isn't it?
I think it is, but I think it's down to two teams now, especially with what's going on with Chelsea. I think the off-the-field things will affect the team eventually at some point. So I think it is a straight two-horse race now. I know that Chelsea are 10 points behind, but it's never over until the last game's played. But this is a straight shootout. If anybody could put a run of games together, it was Liverpool. I can't see him slipping up on the south coast against Brighton. I think I've got Liverpool to win to 0 and Mo Salah to score. So I don't think your odds are going to be great on that. No. I think that's got to be part of your acca. You've got to build that into a bet somewhere.
Yeah, Salah 19 goals already in the Premier League this season. Been directly involved in 29 of Liverpool's goals as well. So a simple one for the favourite backers in the early kick-off. And then what a game at 3 o'clock, Paul. A relegation 6 points, if ever there was one. Brentford, they must be mighty relieved with that win at Norwich last week. It
was a massive win for them, but there's 2 this weekend. There's Leeds, Norwich and Brentford, Burnley. Brentford beat Norwich last weekend. Leeds will be hoping to do the same, but it was a massive win for Brentford because they were on such a slump. They started the season so well. They were earning plaudits all over the place for the way that they were performing and scoring, and rightly so. They were taking on big teams at home. I like Brentford. They seem just a well-run football club. They've got a new stadium, a great community of fans, and I'd like to see them stay in the Premier League, albeit not at Leeds' expense. But I think this is a massive game. I think Burnley were on a good run of form, but they've lost the last 2, losing 4-0 at Chelsea, losing 2-0 at Leicester. And I think before that, they played particularly well. They beat Spurs 1-0. Never back against Burnley staying up. They can always dig out a result from somewhere. This is going to be a really, really hard-fought game, I think.
I mean, Brentford, it's incredible to think that they've never actually won back-to-back games this season. I know they get all the plaudits at the beginning, but they've never actually won back-to-back. So they need to do that. There's something they need to do, isn't it? Defy their stats this season to win here.
When you look at the league, when you look at the amount of games played, because of the postponements that we've had this year, Leeds and Brentford have played 28 games, which if you look at the bottom 6 teams is more than anybody. So if anybody needs 3 points this weekend, it's those 2 teams. Burnley have got 2 games in hand on both of these teams. So if Burnley get 3 points here, I don't think a draw is a bad result for Burnley here. If Burnley can take a point here, Brentford's games tally ticks up 1, Burnley's points tally ticks up 1, and it just brings everything just like that.
Going for the draw then?
I haven't actually. I've gone for Burnley to win, but both teams to score. But an interesting one in this one, Paul Tierney's refereeing, and Burnley are playing. So there's going to be some yellow cards. So if you want to construct a bet around both teams to score and the amount of yellow cards in the game, Tierney loves a yellow card, as the Burnley.
Yeah, it's all to play for as well. The points are at a premium, so down there. Right, United Spurs 5:30. Don't need to talk about that. We'll move on to Sunday's games. If that's this is a battle for the top 4. Is it a battle for the top 4? Is that now Arsenal's? Or are these 2 teams still in contention for Champions League football?
They've got to be. Look at the way this season's gone for 4th place. Nobody's wanted it. I mean, Arsenal have been inconsistent over the period of the season. Of late, yes, they've made that 4th spot their own. I thought that they beat Watford 3-2. I thought they looked good going forward, but still showed defensive vulnerability. But Manchester United and Tottenham, who knows what you're going to get with these 2? Tottenham are Jekyll and Hyde. Manchester United at home are poor. The noises that are coming out of Old Trafford all the time, the uncertainty of the manager, the future at Old Trafford, the results that they've been getting. I saw them play at Leeds first hand, and I was really impressed with them. I think they showed a lot of character. They showed it was at a time where Maguire was getting criticised. Ronaldo, was saying that he wasn't happy there. But then since the Manchester derby, after that, Ronaldo's not been in the team. He's been pulled out. Things aren't right at Old Trafford, and who knows what's going to turn up on the pitch against Tottenham. I think Tottenham against in their last game did they play in the last game when they won 4-0? Leeds away. They were good, very good, but they played against a very poor Leeds side. And at home, after that, they followed it up with a couple of good performances. I really fancy Spurs going there because you don't know what Manchester United team are going to turn up. I've got Spurs to win, but I think both teams will score. Both teams defensively struggle. I think there'll be goals in this one, I really do. And I think it could go either way. I think I've gone for a 3-2 Spurs win and Son to score.
Yeah, well, it's 1-2 the last 3 visits to Old Trafford. Remember that 6-1 win last year, 3-0 as well the year before. I think that was almost at the end of Mourinho's reign, was it? And then United went there early on the season, cost Nuno his job as well. So it's usually managerial casualties when these two clash. Spurs win, both teams to score then.
Yeah, both teams definitely to score.
Yes, you can't defend.
It really is. I think my heart's overruled my head with the Spurs thing. It's always difficult to go to Old Trafford, but there's one thing you can guarantee in this game. I think both teams will score.
There we go, both teams scored Old Trafford. An entertaining clash on Saturday night. Right, let's move on to Sunday's game then. And I mentioned it a little earlier. Obviously, all the travails off the pitch for Chelsea, taking on Newcastle. Now, these are the most informed sides of the league. Newcastle are sensational, 9 unbeaten now. Surely they're safe.
I think they are, yeah. And that's strange to say when only a couple of months ago we were sitting in here almost dumbing them to relegation.
Yeah.
We said that they're done, they're finished. What Eddie Howe's done there has been fantastic. I think they're 26 points or something that they've amassed.
The second most points this year in the calendar year, aren't they?
Which, I mean, if it wasn't for Jurgen Klopp, he'd be manager of the month without a shadow of a doubt. What he's done there, he deserves an enormous amount of credit because you forget where they were in the league. I think the signings that he made in January have been excellent. I think they've all been excellent acquisitions. We looked at it and said you need to sign players to get you out of the situation you're in, players who know the Premier League and know that situation, and they've done that. And I think he's got the team playing together. I think he's got some team spirit there now. They've got cohesion. And I think they're a completely different proposition. And in answer to your original question, I do think they're safe.
Yeah. I think they get anything this weekend. Can they avoid defeat?
I think they can. I think the
confidence is so high.
Confidence is high. And they go into a Chelsea side with what we touched on before, the uncertainty and everything that's going to be at Stamford Bridge. It's going to be strange. Stamford Bridge is going to be half full. You know, things aren't going to be the same. It's not going to feel like a normal match day. Little things like that affect players. So, you know, your normal routines. Us footballers are weird. We like normality and we like routine and we like things to be the same. And stuff that's going off the field does affect you. I was part of the Leeds team when, you know, we got relegated and there was all the financial trouble under Peter Ridsdale. And you say, to the press, to the media, no, it doesn't affect us. We carry on. We keep training, we're playing. But it does affect you. You turn up in the dressing room, you think, oh, you're still here today. Oh, I didn't think you'd be here today. And the stuff that's going on off the field that the Chelsea players will be talking about, and tiny little things will affect them. I've got Newcastle to get a point at Stamford Bridge this weekend. I think both teams will score. I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Oh, entertaining clash then. 2 apiece at Desmond at Stamford Bridge. Right, this might hurt you because this is your former club now when I talk about Leeds taking Norwich. You mentioned it a little earlier. A huge game at the foot of the table. And one thing concerned for Leeds is their goal difference, -35. That could be worth a point coming up at the end of the season.
44 goals in 14 games conceded. I mean, I was there. I was working at the game last night for a broadcaster. And to witness it firsthand again, I was at the Tottenham game where it was Marcelo Bielsa's last game, and you could see why it was his last game. The confidence had gone from the players. There was no kind of understanding of what the game plan on the field. They were closing down on the one-on-one all over the pitch what he wanted them to do, but it was so easy for teams to rip them apart. And the amount of goals they concede. Jesse March has come in. He's got a huge job to do. He tried to get them as a defensive unit against Leicester. They looked better. He played a 4-2-4 without a number 9. Attacking wise, it's kind of stopped them going forward a little bit. They're concentrating more on being hard to beat. And last night against Aston Villa, they were so poor defensively again, but he'd stopped them going forward. So before under Bielsa, Leeds were poor. They were conceding goals, but yes, they were creating 5, 6, 7 attempts at the other end. They weren't taking the chances because they were missing Patrick Bamford, and Dan James wasn't playing as a regular number 9. So there was reasons for them missing chances. Whereas now the worrying thing for me, they're still leaking the goals. They're still defensively poor, but they offered nothing going forward. Martinez didn't make a save last night.
That's a big concern, isn't it? I mean, is this the right game? Is this the best game for them at home to Norwich, or is this one to treat with caution? Because they're going to be thinking they're so lack of confidence. Norwich thinking they go in there and they could have every chance of ending their losing streak. I mean, both of these can't buy a point, let alone a win.
I watched Leeds last night, and if it wasn't for Norwich this weekend, I'd be sat here saying to you, I can't see where Leeds are going to win another game, the way that they played last night. But Norwich fans have got a saying, along came Norwich. So, when any records need breaking, that's a saying that they've got. But Jesse March, he contradicted himself last night in his post-match interview. He talks in riddles, and he baffled me after the game last night. I couldn't really pick out what he was trying to say. And he said, I need to take the pressure off the players. I need to take the stress off the players. I need, to relieve the pressure. And then in the next sentence, he says, Sunday's a cup final. So, yeah. So, but it is. And the latter part of that statement is absolutely correct. Sunday is the biggest game of the season for both teams. If Leeds win, they could go on a run. They've got a potential of staying up. Norwich have to win to give themselves a chance of staying up. A point at the weekend is no good for either of these two sides. I think it'll be a horrible match to watch. It'll be cagey, it'll be edgy, and it's one that neither can afford to lose, but neither will want to draw.
No, it's one of them games you look at and you think, well, looks like they're both going to lose.
Yeah.
you just can't see who's going to win on a point.
If you're backing on form, if this was a horse and these two horses were in a race, you wouldn't go near either of them.
You wasn't, no. They can't both lose. They'll sure go, can they? I mean, Leeds are long odds on here. Around 8-13, 4-6. You couldn't touch that with a barge pole, could you?
No, not really. Not for a cert. No. I think you have to be constructive around that. I've gone for Leeds to win simply because of the home advantage. But
both teams to score.
Yeah, well, the thing I've written down is neither can defend.
6-6, 6-7-6.
But if you look at the goal difference in the league, both of them have got awful goal differences. And I think it's more important for Leeds to win where they are because their goal difference is so bad. That's a point off. So you can knock a point off their total just because their goal difference is so bad. I've gone for Leeds to win, but both teams to score, as you say.
Right, let's move on to another team in trouble then. Everton, they're taking on Wolves. Wolves found the shooting boots, didn't they, on Thursday night? Threw up in quick time against Watford. Are Everton going to survive by virtue of others being worse? I mean, I know they're right in there, but they've got games in hand and they might not need that many points to get out of it, the way the others are in free fall.
Well, I saw them at Tottenham. That was the game I was thinking of after the Leeds game, the Tottenham game. And Everton were extremely poor. In a way, there looked to be a lack of leadership on the field. There looked to be disgruntledness. They went 1-0 down and they just folded. And it's very, very difficult when you're in a situation like that at the bottom of the league. You're looking for players on the field. You're looking for people to, pull people together and leaders on the field. Jordan Pickford was trying to do that. Michael Keane at the back, defensively, far too many errors. You look at their squad, you look at the quality of players that they've got in that squad. Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Dele Alli, Van der Beek, Allan. Players that aren't performing to a level, and it's difficult to get your form when you're playing in a team that's not playing particularly well. I think Everton will survive simply because they've got the games in hand. Games in hand aren't points in the bag, but I think they can put a run of games together with results that get them out of it. I think they have got the quality in the squad, but when I saw them play against Tottenham, I was worried for them.
Yeah, they weren't very good at all. Well, this is, I know we're levelling at this Everton team because they are down, they're 17th at the present, but we can level this at many Everton teams over the last couple of decades, couldn't we? They're not performing up to what they should be.
This is nothing to do with it is to do with the current crop of players, but this has been fundamentally wrong from a long time ago. You look at the managers they've had. They've had world-class managers in there. Rafa Benitez, a so-called world-class manager. Carlo Ancelotti, so-called world-class manager. Marco Silva, Ronald Koeman. The recruitment, the spending, everything at that club has been wrong for a long, long time. Mainly player recruitment, the gross overspending. They've not been able to change things because of the financial fair play situation they're in. And I think that became apparent in the summer when they got Demarai Gray for $1.5 million and Andros Townsend on a free. And that set the tone for the season. They have to stay in the Premier League, Everton, because they've got the plans for the new stadium. They want to progress, and if they're going to get out this financial fair play situation, if they have to drop into the Championship, it would be disastrous for them. Yeah,
we lost 4 of the last 5 in the league as well. The only victory was against Leeds, the end of Bielsa's reign. Wolves, though, finally 3 games without win, then romp against Watford. Are they still in that hunt for the top 4, or have they just got a little bit too much to do?
I think they've got a bit too much to do, but I think I've been really impressed with them this year with what they do. Defensive-wise, I think they've been really solid this year. They've been criticised for not scoring enough of goals, but they haven't lost games. They've always been in games. When they have lost games, it's only been by a very, very small margin. I've been really impressed by what he's done there. And after Nuno, it was always going to be difficult for somebody to come in, but he's come in, he's changed the style slightly, he's made them more attacking, they're a lot more pleasing on the eye to watch, and I've really enjoyed watching them this year.
Yeah, so that's Everton Wolves points.
I think it will be a very, very scrappy draw, and I think Everton will scrape a draw, and that could be the platform for them to build a 1-1 draw, a 0-0 draw, something like that.
A stalemate then between Everton and Wolves at Goodison Park. What about the Claret and Blue derby then? West Ham taking on Aston Villa. I've been a little bit worried about West Ham. They're still putting performances, narrow defeat to Liverpool, narrow defeat to Sevilla. There's no disgrace in that. I'm just starting to worry now. The depth of their squad, it wasn't added to in January. Yeah. It's been pulled in all different directions, trying to stay on the hunt for 4th. Europa League as well. I see them not falling away as such, but struggling with the last few weeks of the season. That's
the point I was going to make, and that's the thing that we've levelled at them all season. The sustainability of their squad, the depth of their squad, and they're competing on so many fronts. I thought they played well last night in Seville. I thought they give a good account of themselves, and they've got a great opportunity in the home leg. But I think when Antonio doesn't score, they're obviously missing Jared Bowen, two key players for them. They didn't strengthen in January, as you said, and I think they will fall away for that top four. I think the European competition has been a big ask for them this year. I think their lack of spending in January, I think they showed optimism, as they have done previously, West Ham, whether the bids were realistic, the amount that they were bidding for players or not. You look at Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, the amount that they bidded, were they realistically going to get those two players out of Leeds at that time? Probably not. They've been guilty of that before with Tarkowski at Burnley. And I think if they are to progress and they are to crack that top four, this summer will be a big summer for them. Declan Rice, with his contract running down, I think he's got 3 years left. Chelsea are going to be out the game buying him now. So is that an opportunity for Declan Rice to stay? Because we know his affinity to Chelsea, we know his affinity to Mason Mount, but with Chelsea out the ball game, being able to buy him this summer, does that then give West Ham the strength to keep him? Not necessarily sign a new contract, because I don't believe he will sign a new contract, but does he give West Ham another 12 months and they build around him? Or do they sell, like Liverpool did with Coutinho, and spend that money on Van Dijk and Alisson and strengthen the side in that type of way? So it's a really big summer for West Ham this year, regarding what they do with their squad. But I think this is just a bridge too far for them. And I was really impressed with Aston Villa last night. Really impressed with Aston Villa. What Stephen's done there, Coutinho's been brilliant for them. He played with a diamond up top, with Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings, with Coutinho just in behind. And I think West Ham, coming back from a tough European trip, I think this will be a tough game for them against Villa.
Last 3 games Villa have won, all to nil, scored 9. Immediate peak under Gerrard, then it just dropped off a little bit, and now they're picking up. Can they kick on and end the season really well?
I think they can. We spoke to Stephen last night, we interviewed him after the game, and I asked him what was his realistic ambitions for this season. And I think he answered the question really well. I think you have to take into consideration where the team was when he took over. You look where they were languishing in the bottom three of the league, where he's taken them, but the quality of players that he's brought in as well, the backing he's had from the board, and where they are now. And he said the realistic aim for this season is top half. After that, I want to go again in the summer. I had a really good January transfer window. I want to go again in the summer, build again, and eventually the aim is for Europe. And I think with the quality that he had on show on the pitch last night, they can do that. I think their squad's too small. They haven't got the strength in depth, the quality in depth, let's say. But their starting 11 to 13 is strong.
Who gets the points? Are you siding with Villa just to get something? I've
gone for Villa away, 1-0, because defensively last night they were very good at Leeds. Yeah. They kept Leeds out. So I've gone for a sneaky 1-0 away win. Yeah, and obviously West Ham looking a little bit more toothless, aren't they? Like I say, minus Antonio and Bowen. We move on to the South Coast, though, and to St Mary's. Southampton hosting Watford in this one. Southampton's been a great run of form, but back-to-back defeats now to Villa and Newcastle. Are we getting into the realms of last chance saloon for Watford? Yes, I think so. In the same vein as Norwich. I think it's a must-win for them this weekend, and it's not an easy place to go, the South Coast, to Saints, because they have been on a good run of form, but Hassan Hudl's sides have been guilty of inconsistency. They do that quite often, Southampton. They were my tip to go down at the beginning of this season. They'd proved me wrong in that sense. But I think they're safe now. They're not going to push for European places. They're not going to get relegated. So there's a potential they could be, take the foot off the gas a little bit. This is a big ask for Watford, and it's a game that they have to win. In my eyes, looking at the league, Norwich and Watford are gone, simply on the amount of games that they've played compared to everybody else and the points tally. Those two are gone, and then I think you've got one of 3 others that will go with them. Roy Hodgson came in, you'd expect them to be defensively solid, hard to beat, everything that they're not. Their acquisitions in January surprised me. I don't think they've strengthened them in any way at all. I just think the turnover of managers there, the business model that club's got, I can't see them staying up this year, and I can't see them getting much on the South Coast. Southampton victory? Southampton to 0, because Watford do look so toothless as well. Yeah, Southampton odds on for the win now, about 8-13, but to 0. We'll bump up that price odds against, you would imagine, for the Saints. I'll have a look at something like the FA Cup, where you're into the quarter-finals, aren't they? Like you say, they're a mid-table obscurity. They can put all their efforts into that. But then you see him changing the team. I can never understand why managers do that. So a team like Southampton, realistically, at the start of the season, what's your aim? It's to stay in the Premier League. Staying in the Premier League, why not have a real go in the cup competition? He may do that now. And I think from a fan's point of view, a Saints fan's point of view, they'd love to see him do that.
Right, let's move on then to the Emirates. Arsenal taking on Leicester, which beginning of the season, we would have thought this would have been a huge game for top four. Arsenal 4 wins on the spin. Incredible turnaround from Arteta for the beginning of the season. Taking the Leicester side, looking for their 3rd win on the spin, something they haven't done in the league this year.
They've been very inconsistent this year. They've surprised me, Leicester. I think they've been very poor at times. Brendan Rodgers even been questioned at times, but he always seems to pull it round. They have got a good squad of players there, and it'd be a good game this. I think Arsenal are in pole position, as we spoke about earlier, for the 4th spot. But Leicester have turned it round, and you've got 2 teams that are in good form. Arsenal going forward, impressive. I think defensively they're still vulnerable, but I think it'll be a big ask for Leicester to go there this weekend.
The things with Arsenal is that he's made some big decisions, Arteta, probably none bigger than shipping out Aubameyang, but it's worked, hasn't it?
It's worked because the results are there for people to see. Aubameyang's gone to Barcelona, he's scored his goals, and people say, was it the right thing? But if you've got somebody in the dressing room that's poison in the dressing room, that's working against you and what you want to do, you build your own squad, you build your own players, and you build your own team. And that's what Arteta's doing. He's had his critics like anyone else has, but that rebuilding job at Arsenal was a huge rebuilding job, and transition can only last for too long. And I think this is coming to the end of his transition period now. This is where expectancy starts, because he started to get the results. He started to look like the Arsenal of old. They're in 4th. So now Arsenal, for me, are no longer in transition. They're now expected to be there. Arteta's had long enough. He's had time. He's had 3 or 4 windows. He's built the squad what he wants. They now need to push on, and that period of transition is done.
Nobody wants 4th place. If Arsenal win this weekend, surely it's theirs for the taking, isn't it then?
Yeah, I think so. I think you look at the other results, a lot depends on what happens at Old Trafford with Tottenham, Manchester United, and I think you look at the fixtures, there's teams that are going for that 4th place that can do each other a lot of damage in the coming weeks as well. So I think if Arsenal do win this weekend, they really are in pole position.
Do they?
Do you know what? I've sat on the fence here. I'm not even going to give you a bet for the game.
Oh, I know where you're going
because
here.
Anthony Taylor's refereeing this one. So his record for cards this year is phenomenal. 77 yellows and 4 reds. We all know that Arsenal players love getting sent off under Arteta. He's got an awful record for having players sent off. Anthony Taylor, not just the Premier League, in all competitions, he's refereed 30 games this year, 128 yellows and 6 reds. That's an average of 4 a game. So we know Arsenal love a red card. Anthony Taylor loves a yellow. So a combination of card bets. I'd be tempted to put 5, 6 yellows and a possible red. Construct your result, whatever you think. I'd personally go for a draw. I think it would be a 1-1 draw. I'd go for more than 4 yellows and a potential red.
Yeah, I think Zaka's 9-2. No, it was 9-2 for a red in the match.
9-2 for a red.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a decent price.
9-2 for a red in the match.
You automatically think of Granit Xhaka.
When you put Arsenal and Anthony Taylor together, the bet's a red card.
Yeah, more cards than Clinton's in that one, I'd imagine. Right, Monday night then, Man City head to the capital to take on Crystal Palace. I like Palace, they've surprised me. That's never surprised me. I expect them to do better than people suggested under Vieira. He's got a really nice young squad at his disposal. This is the acid test, isn't it?
This is a big test. This will test where they've come. But I mean, they're sat in 11th in the Premier League. This is Palace who, a few years ago, went to Frank de Boer and went to change the style. Their business proposition has always been stay in the Premier League. We play a style of football that keeps us in the Premier League. In a similar way to Burnley, not particularly pleasing on the eye, defensively solid, and all we do every year, get enough points to amass to keep us in the Premier League. They've gone away from that this year. They had a lot of players out of contract. They took a risk with a young, untested manager in the Premier League under Patrick Vieira. And I, unlike you, I was wary of what was going to happen with Palace this year. I've been really, really impressed with them. I think the blend of youth and experience they've got, the signings that they've made, Conor Gallagher's been absolutely outstanding for me. But again, back to the Chelsea situation, where does that leave him? We know he's only on loan. What situation does that put him in? Palace are obviously not going to be in a position where they're able to buy him, so he looks like he'll go back into the Chelsea squad next year, which will then, that will weaken Palace. But I think what Palace have done is change the identity, change the style of player, change the style of play, and that Selhurst Park crowd that's so good, so vibrant, have now got an exciting team to watch. I've been very impressed with them this year.
Yeah, they'll certainly be bouncing, won't they, on Monday night at City, the visitors. Can they extend their lead and one more step to getting their title back?
They always get results, City. As tough as it will be. This will be one of their toughest tests away from home. It's certainly not easy going to Selhurst Park, but the quality that City have got, the quality of abundance of talent, let's say. They only got a 0-0 draw in midweek in the Champions League, but cruised through 5-0. The holy grail for Pep is the Champions League. We know that, and it has been for a long time. But he's not going to want to lose this Premier League title after being so many points clear. I think City will go there. It won't be an easy result for them. It won't be an easy game for them. I've got City to win by 1 goal.
Yeah, they've won that 5 of the last 6 visits to Selhurst Park and Man City. Of course, Palace looking to do the double. The shock scoreline, wasn't it? The Etihad 2-0 earlier on in the season, but no banana skin for City this weekend, according to Paul Robertson. Right, those are the 10 games looked at. What would be our best bet this weekend on the card? Is it those cards at the Emirates?
I think it's a cheeky one. That I think pick your own. If you're an Arsenal fan or Leicester fan, back your own team to win. But with Anthony Taylor with his record for cards and Arsenal's record for red cards, I think there's a constructive bet there.
There we are then.
Be constructive.
Yeah, more cards and Clintons, as I mentioned earlier, in that game. Thanks to Paul for joining us then. That's a preview of our 10 Premier League games this weekend. Loads to look forward to now. It's going to be another entertaining and certainly informative weekend at all ends of the table. Thanks for watching.